welcome to another sort of mini episode, shall we say, of Film for Thought. And this is, as I said last time, our experiment in randomness.
Yes. Let's just talk about movies for 20 minutes and see how it goes.
Why the hell not? Give you a little extra something to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And this time, as you can probably tell from the title of whatever we've called this...
Whatever we come up with.
this is... The original idea that we had was to have a remake/reboot of an old franchise and an original idea, as best as we can, to try and have something new that we would like to see as a film or whatever. And what it appears to have turned into is I have an idea for a reboot and an original, and Brian appears to have come up with, and I don't know what this is yet. I turned up and he was furiously writing a reboot/original.
Yes, so, it's a classic series which I am not completely, but changing enough that I would consider it a new idea, not just a general update.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is I will do both my reboot and then original, and then we will end with Brian's...
My Rebo original.
Yeah, Rebo original. Let's run with that.
Yes.
All right.
Trademarked. All right. As is the idea, you assholes. All right.
Got it? Good. Let's go.
Okay, let's go ahead, Paul.
All right, so my reboot, I actually ended up giving this away to Brian because he was joking like, oh, you're not going to do this, are you? And it turns out I am.
And I had thought of doing this, I just couldn't figure out a way to make it work in my head. So I'm interested to hear where this is going.
All right, so my original reboot idea was going to be something else, and then I thought, no, and then I was thinking about it. What would I love to see a reboot of, and how would I want it to go? And given that this is the year 2015, that this film series, when the second film came out, this is the year it went to, and this is the thing where it's like, oh no, everyone thinks this is the year, no, this is the year, like, no, this is the year that they came to. I want to see a reboot of Back to the Future. And yes, Brian is laughing right there.
I cannot wait.
Alright, now...
yeah, go ahead, sorry. I keep wanting to cut you off, but go ahead.
No, that's fine. Now, how I want this to work is I want this to be, like, make it this year, because it has to be this year, and I want this to be where the Back to the Future films were the films. I want this to be basically us, and it's somewhat of a commentary on, oh, look at, this is what they thought the future was going to be, and this is what it actually is. And then someone genuinely comes up with an idea of time travel. Now, probably not a DeLorean, but at some point in the film there would be a DeLorean, just because there has to be. If you're going to be rebooting, there's got to be the nods. And they end up going 30 years into the future. Or... depending on how you want to do it, because it could be a two-film thing. If we're going to reboot it, they've got to go 30 years into the past, so they've got to go back and end up in the original film somehow. Like, I think they've got to go back, see that past, and end up in the background of that film, and then, at the end of the film, they go into 2045, so 30 years into the future, and then the second film is what we think 30 years into the future is going to be. Because I think there could be... I don't necessarily think the third film would need to be redone.
No.
Because that would be... Because then that would be, what, 1915, I think? Because isn't it 1885 or something?
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be 1915, and that would be Victoria... That would be just after Victoria-era America. So that would be... What, the Great Depression?
Just on the verge of, World War One. And then into the, not into the Roaring Twenties yet. But
yeah, so it wouldn't exactly be that exciting. But I do think that...
Marty doing the Charleston. I don't know if that's a little later, but you get the idea.
I think that having a little fun with it in the first film, in that they actually go back to when they made the original Back to the Future, and... they could have some sort of commentary on, like, them saying, oh, this is going back in time. Well, no, this is actually what 85 was like. And then turn it into, for the second film, our vision for what the future is going to be like. I don't necessarily have a plot, a full plot fleshed out or anything, but that's what I would like to see done if they were going to reboot it. And I do think that 2015 would be a good year for that, because that is the 30 years into the future.
Okay. So my question is, you're keeping the exact same cast across the board?
No.
No. Okay.
No. Because, as I said,
Well, I mean, at any point, are you keeping the... I know that the cast has to change due to age differences, but at any point, are you using the same cast?
I think that definitely, yeah. It could even start at a 30-year memorial for the original film. And so, this person is going to a screening where Michael J. Fox turns up, where Christopher Lloyd turns up. So it is fully acknowledging that this was a film that existed, and then this guy ends up somehow going back to that. So the first film's kind of meta. Like they go back 30 years to the actual filming of it. I mean, we could even, if we're gonna totally throw reality to the wind, we could go the way of Last Action Hero, and he somehow, during the screening, is taken back.
There's a reboot.
Oh yeah, blend the two together.
Yes.
During the screening, he somehow goes back to that, and I don't know whether or not he would mess up the filming somehow, so the film is somewhat different when he comes back, which I think would kind of have to happen.
It all sounds like a very cross-eyed situation for O'Brien.
No, yes, definitely. But I think that going somewhat meta with it as a reboot, and then having a second film be our perspective on where the future is going, I think that would just be interesting, and it also might gain more interest down the line for people going into science and people inventing stuff and things like that. Right? It's kind of like the Jurassic Park regained people's interest in dinosaurs, like when that came out. So I think it would be fun. That's basically my reasoning. Okay,
and we were talking a little bit before we recorded, and this was tentatively my idea for a reboot, and I was telling Paul I just couldn't get the full grasp that he got on it. Like, I couldn't work out all the bits and pieces.
Right.
And what I had come up with for it was I would just pretty much like a reboot, start over with film one, but it's a dark comedy. I love dark comedies.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of dark comedy.
So I was trying to cast it in my head, and I was like having trouble. The only thing I could think of for Marty, and I think he's probably too old now for the part, is the guy that plays Quicksilver and the
Aaron
X-Men.
Taylor Johnson. Oh no, the X-Men one.
The X-Men one. Yes.
Okay.
Hit kind of him, and I didn't even think about Doc Brown. I don't know. Maybe Fassbender in there as Biff or something.
Either Biff or Strickland.
Yes. But darker, where like their time travel has real world horrible consequences, like people dying, people.
So that it would have to be
hearts breaking.
So it would have to be more like the second one then, where they keep going back and forth. Like they have to keep going because they realize
get enough around it. But I thought that'd be interesting, just to go a little darker with it, a little more Nolan-esque.
well, I do think if we were going my route, that the second one, it could go to a dystopian future. Like the idea of this is what will happen if this. So it's more than capable of going whichever way the people that make it would want to go.
Kind of Back to the Future meets Blade Runner or something along those lines.
That would be a really cool, gritty take on it. I like that.
Yeah, get Ridley Scott to direct. Why not? So that was the best I could come up with, but I like a little more there.
Okay.
So how about your original?
So my more original idea, now, this is taking the idea of Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock, like he's a detective then. My idea is that we have a detective who is trying to be a detective in Victorian era London at the same time as Sherlock. It's a film noir type film, and he keeps getting screwed over because Sherlock keeps getting all of the cases, and everyone wants to go to Sherlock, so he's about to go out of business. Like, he's not.
So more of like a second party take on the same stories, kind of like in Ender's Shadow or whatever, where a character that inhabits that world.
Yeah, it is being influenced by the world, and I even had
like a Guildenstern and what are the Hamlet characters or whatever. They had their own little play. Or, it's from their perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I had ideas of either in the first, because I kind of thought it would end up kind of being good as a trilogy, with an overarching thing, but in the first film, he has someone come to him that she originally was going to go to Sherlock, but Sherlock is currently busy on one of his last cases, maybe even Hound of Baskervilles or something. And so, come to him, and he starts out annoyed that he was the second choice, but as he goes into it, obviously he finds a slightly bigger story underneath, as most film noirs go. And then at the end of the first one, he runs into Irene Adler, and Irene Adler specifically comes to him because Sherlock has gone missing, and that is the setup for the second film. And he's not only trying to become the new Sherlock Holmes, he's trying to figure out what happened to Sherlock Holmes. And then that can really delve into what happened to the world when Sherlock left. Because obviously in the books, Arthur Conan Doyle did bring him back, but there was a gap there where there was no Sherlock. So what happened in there would be the second one, and of course Irene Adler would be trying to coerce this detective into doing what she wants him to do, maybe even actually trying to get him to find Sherlock is her idea, and all of that. So I had sort of an idea fleshed out as an overall story, and I just thought that would be a fascinating idea. We don't have now that many old-timey, shall we say, Victorian era films coming out, and I thought it would be a great way of people would be interested because Sherlock timed, and there is Sherlock in it. You might even see Sherlock for a minute. I wouldn't have him played by Benedict Cumberbatch, or even
Robert Downey Jr.
Theoretically, you could, because that Sherlock is supposed to be that time, so that one would work. Yeah. But
it's interesting.
I just thought it would be a fantastic way to have a new look at Sherlock, because the first one would be happening during one of the cases as a sideline. The second one would be happening while Sherlock is missing, and then the third one would be the implications of Sherlock coming back. So I think it would be
work there.
Yeah, it'd be fun to see where that could go.
Okay.
And I actually had this idea back listening to the at Storybreakers. They do a lot of either original ideas or rebooting, things like that. And they were asking for film noir, and then the second they did that, I was like, "Oh, I really like film noir, detective." Wait a minute, Sherlock. But this has been kind of floating together. Yeah. This has been kind of floating for a while, and when we were trying to come up with ideas for this, I was like, you know what? This might be an idea for me to get it out there.
Get a Kickstarter going.
Actually, talk about
it. I'm going to provide. Yeah, right.
All right, so yeah. If anyone has any thoughts they might want to put towards that or anything like that, then do let us know. Seriously, we'd love to.
Towards that, or your own, Yeah.
I may as well throw it in here since I didn't put it at the beginning. Contacting us in any form for my ideas or for what we're going to hear from Brian. Twitter at Blokebusters, Facebook.com/Blokebusters, and email blokebusterpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep.
There's no second S for that one.
Okay. Yes.
Right. So, after all that, and the nod of approval from Brian.
Of course. Yeah, I'm interested in that. Yeah.
All right. So, let us hear the original reboot.
My original reboot, yes, if there's such a thing. Which I'm now creating it.
All right.
So what is about to come out of my mouth is sheer blasphemy. By and large, I hate reboots. I think well enough alone. If it didn't work, that's great. If it didn't work, there's a reason it didn't work. Yeah. If it did work, leave it alone. That being said, there have been a few exceptions. Mad Max.
Yeah.
But few and far between. So I'm going to go with, and this is what's real blasphemous, one of my all-time favorite films. This would be a modern update of Rocky. So I didn't realize this is what I was working on because I was trying to come up with the reboot and then an original idea, and I was working on the original idea, and I was like, oh, this is Rocky. So not quite so original. Yeah, but I've found a way. So it's of course updated to modern times, not late 70s or mid to late 70s.
Right.
So I'm just going to read. I just wrote out this long plot synopsis, so I'm just going to kind of skim through that and jump in where you would like, or afterwards, whatever you prefer. But I'm casting it. That's how my brain works. I have to cast it first, and then it makes sense to me. So starring Jeremy Renner, who, if we don't know Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye, and American Hustle as the politician, you know. Yeah. So we know Jeremy Renner, and then Jessica Chastain, who's one of my favorite actresses as well. We know her from Interstellar and, you know, whatnot. So Renner is divorced from Chastain, and he's a divorced father who's just turned the big 40. Right. Not too far off the mark because Jeremy Renner is actually like in his mid-40s. Yeah. So he's moving it out of Philadelphia. Sorry, Philly. Into so he's living in a small apartment in Boston, and then so he works multiple jobs. Not very well educated as Rocky was. You know, not very well educated. So he works a lot of here and there jobs, piecemeal it together. A lot of manual jobs, hard work, hard labor. Yeah. To pay his child support to make ends meet at the end of the day. So, and he's also, he boxed since he was a very young age. But never, first it was his passion and as a potential career. That didn't pan out. Right. And now he's stuck with it through the years and now uses it as a form of stress relief and to kind of hang out with his old boxing pals.
Now, would he have originally started due to a father figure, or would it be he's just always been fascinated with boxing?
Don't really have an answer for that. Okay. I don't know. So don't really know that. Right. But so now just kind of goes to a gym where he can meet some of his old buddies and just kind of spar a while, hit the speed bag or heavy bag for a while. So then shortly after his very lackluster, lame 40th birthday party with his ex-wife and child, kind of disenfranchised child, whatever. That same night, he goes out for a few drinks with a few of his boxing buddies, and they of course reminisce about the old days, of course,
the glory days,
of course, and how close. I named him James, quote, The Rock. Sylvester has a little nod to Stallone, James Sylvester. How close he came to making it, as a real legitimate fighter. And so, the next day, of course, as movies go, he hears about this social media contest that the world heavyweight champion has put out there, via Twitter or whatever you want to do, Keanu Modernized, where he's welcoming any challengers. And of course, you have to go through a very advanced, screening if you win that you are capable, that you're have a background in boxing.
Is it the old 3 rounds type thing?
Yeah, something along those lines. It's a little bit like Balboa, what they did with Balboa, that 6th Rocky film, where the heavyweight champion had no legitimate contenders. He'd beaten everyone soundly, and now it's just more of a publicity stunt.
Yeah.
So
hey, anyone.
So let's give a no-name a chance, as is the Rocky the original. Give a no-name the opportunity to make a name for himself. So of course he sees this lasted off. Whatever. Yeah. And eventually his buddies and even his ex-wife, who still loves him and who still, they get along.
Yeah, they just come live together.
Yeah, convince him that this is something he should attempt. Of course he wins the contest. Yeah. And so then from there, he trains with his tentatively cast Harrison Ford as his old trainer. And trains for the fight. Of course, loses by decision, as he would, but makes it standing and ultimately wins redemption. So that was my idea there. Yeah.
All right.
A little updated. And it could follow. There's room for sequels there. Because the right people would want to promote or kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it should go like the 5 sequels.
No. Yeah. But there would be people that wanted to exploit that.
Oh yeah.
And manage higher ups with money that would like to see him fight again.
There could definitely be a second film in there.
But I just thought that was kind of an interesting update on. Probably one of my favorite films of all time. I'm so sorry, Rocky. I'm so sorry. I still feel icky about it.
I was just thinking, I'm surprised that instead of The Rock, just have it be Rocky. Rather than, but I mean, I guess if Rocky didn't exist as either a character or a film,
this is assuming
in
that
universe,
never existed.
Then Rocky wouldn't be a nickname. So The Rock would work. Yeah.
But I like the idea that the first film was very much him and Adrian kind of finding each other. He's already had a married young.
They've already gone through that.
And and he's now divorced, and that I know it's a little bit of film trope. The single dad.
Well, I mean, it exists for a reason.
Yeah.
It's a solid enough premise. That, and you can... And that is
I know
just one
he's
part
the
of it.
taken dad, essentially Liam
Yeah.
Neeson, just sees his daughter on birthdays and, whatever. And
Liam Neeson is the...
Liam Neeson
as
is the
guy.
trainer. There you go, maybe. Yes, I have a particular set of skills. Let me cut your eye.
I have a particular set of skills. I stand here and tell you how to punch.
Yes. So, yeah. I don't know. Anyone steals that idea, go for it.
If anyone is able to write a script from that
Yeah.
that isn't just ripping off Rocky, then yeah, all power to you.
Yeah, and just, give me a credit. Executive producer credit. I'll settle.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I don't know. That's all I had.
No, yeah.
I'd really be interested if you have reboots that, haven't been done or have been done, but you'd like to see go in a different direction than what's been done.
No, yeah. And
with, Batman or whatever, or
Yeah.
Alien,
yeah, and so if you have anything like that, let us know, and or send us your comments on our idea.
Yeah, we'll talk about it on the next episode.
No, yeah. And then also, if you liked listening to what we said, as I did say earlier, the @Storybreakers guys, they do this every single episode. They have a whole bunch of these. So if you like listening to us talk about it, do go listen to them and tell them we sent you, because they're fun to listen to. And for those of you that like accents, they are English. So there you go. It's another draw for
Unlike
them.
these other Robin Hoods, I speak with an authentic
English accent. It works.
It's never complete without a Mel Brooks.
No, I actually originally sat down and thought, could I possibly think of a Mel Brooks one that could be redone?
I was trying to do Blazing Saddles and couldn't make that work.
I was considering Spaceballs, but
I'm glad we're along the same lines.
but given that he did give the title of Jews in Space as the sequel to that one, I don't think I could possibly top that. So.
Or actually, the long-anticipated History of the World Part 2.
Yeah.
Which was always supposed to be a joke.
Now, if only he remade History of the World Part 1, and that was his joke, History of the World Part 2.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. All right.
That's
enough for us from now.
Yes, it is. So I've been Paul.
I've been Brian.
See ya.